She had it all: a wonderful family of a supportive husband, great parents and two beautiful children, a thriving business, and over 200,000 people cheering her on. April Holt built a picture-perfect life online, but behind the filtered smiles and motivational quotes, something sinister was brewing. Her struggles and life challenges were well covered up online with her facade. Then, on a quiet July morning, her 7-year-old son found her unconscious in the shower, a plastic bag taped over her head. What really happened inside that home? Was it a tragic accident or a cold-blooded cover-up? This is the haunting story of April Holt and the mother who refused to let the truth stay buried. Let's have your comments.
Welcome to The Silent Witness, where we highlight true crime news, unsolved mysteries, unfold chilling stories and events around us to educate and provide information on how we can stay proactive, informed, be security and safety conscious in our environment. The Silent Witness is your go-to destination for gripping accounts of real-life crimes, missing persons, cold cases, and unexplained events. Want to support us and appreciate our craft? Click like, comment, and hit the subscribe button now. Please note that all related materials referenced in this video were majorly sourced from either official court or police documents, reference statements, or other reputable sources, weeding out the speculation theories and unverified information.
April Holt was the face of positivity, vibrant, cheerful, and full of life. She was a great mother, wife, coach, light, daughter. By early 2023, April Holt clocked 29 years old and was many things to many people.
Happy 29th birthday to me. I am blessed to experience another year of life. I have lived through 10,585 days.
A vibrant 29-year-old from Antioch, Tennessee. She was a mother of two, a self-made entrepreneur, and a rising influencer with over 200,000 followers on TikTok. Her content radiated joy, manifestation mantras, mental health affirmations, family skits with her children, and loving clips with her husband, Donovan. But behind the inspirational captions and curated content was a woman fighting battles no algorithm could capture. Her platform wasn't just about self-growth. It was survival. She spoke openly about being homeschooled in isolation, her struggles with depression, and a childhood spent largely disconnected from the world. Yet in each post, she came back to the same message: you can overcome anything. Her videos were quirky, warm, times deeply vulnerable. Progress over perfection, she'd remind her followers. Grow just a little bit every day. Behind her words, however, there were signs, subtle shifts in tone, unspoken sadness in her eyes, posts that hinted at inner turmoil, at something unraveling behind the camera. She wasn't just teaching others to rise. She was begging herself not to fall. April's greatest joy was her family. Her daughter, Serenity, was 11. Her son, Denzel, just 7. Her husband, Donovan Holt, was more than just her partner. He was her best friend. At least that's what the world believed. In countless videos, they laughed, danced, joked, and shared their love story online. Best friends first, Donovan once said. That's the foundation. But every perfect post has its shadows.
Oh, no, that's the question. It's
I'm
rolling.
supposed to answer right now.
Yeah.
Being best friends. That came first. If we weren't friends.
You're so out of breath.
I am a bro. But honestly, if we weren't friends first, it wouldn't have lasted. Like, that's been the base of the whole relationship, the foundation, was that we were friends. And so even through the bullshit, we can joke around and maintain that friendship. I mean, it's what kept us through our separation, honestly. So
Yeah.
being friends is important.
He really is like my bestest friend ever.
Their marriage wasn't always smooth. They had been separated before 3 long years of emotional and physical distance, financial struggles, mental health crises. Even as April preached healing, she was often quietly breaking. Still, they reunited, tried again and again. They wanted to believe in their story. Maybe they needed to. April once wrote, "Love is a journey through the storm, not the absence of it."
Let's talk about how I'm going to fake it till I make it while I put on lash extensions, because I had a mental breakdown the other night and I plucked all of my lashes off. I think I can add a video, maybe not. If not, then I'm just pointing for no reason. But yeah, let's get into it. So lately, I have been going through just a lot, and I can definitely say that I'm in like a depressed state. Like I'm just overwhelmed, and I know that like I'm manifesting more negative experiences on myself with how I've been, so I have to get out of this funk. So I'm going to literally fake it till I make it. And I've done this before. This isn't the first time.
The couple had previously filed for divorce more than twice. The union has been a lucky one, but unstable due to the several challenges they had to pass through to sustain the family. The couple had previously filed for divorce, leading to a 3-year separation. They always feel they could manage the situation and keep being best of friends while taking care of each other and their children.
Okay, so the story is that we are getting divorced because of our decision. It's my best friend. I still love her to death. Like, we still got a child together. We still gonna be hanging out. I'm probably
all
gonna
the time.
see her most days of the week, but at the end of the day, we got shit to do. That's it. You feel me? She has a path to go. I got a path to go, but our paths to pay her live. And we always gonna be next to each other.
Yeah.
And who's to say what's gonna happen in the future? All that we know is right now. Right now, it's the best. I mean, real talk, it's the best decision for both of us. For her to do what she needs to do, for me to do what I need to do. So
we can grow and heal and
that's it.
Elevate. No hard feelings. This is not a messy divorce or anything like that. We don't do that. This is like I said. Like he said, this is my best friend at the end of the day. He has been before the relationship, before the marriage, before the kid. So nothing's gonna change that. So
like, look at her, bro. Like, I would never lose this forever. For real. And look.
So we're good, y'all. We're
for
good.
real, like for real.
Promise y'all.
But storms, when ignored, don't pass. They build. Then came July 28, 2023, the day everything changed. That morning, April was herself. She drank her coffee, journaled, and hugged Denzel goodbye. She and Donovan disappeared into the bathroom. Minutes later, their son pressed his ear to the door. He could hear the fighting, but not the words. Only voices, raised, sharp, final, then silence. Shortly after, Donovan dressed Denzel, made him lunch, and then asked the boy to check on his mother. What he found would shatter their world. April was unconscious in the shower, a plastic bag taped over her head. She wasn't breathing. Every case has a moment when the mask begins to slip. For April Holt, that moment came not in the hospital room, but in the expressions of the man who should have been broken, but wasn't. April Holt was rushed to the emergency room on the afternoon of July 28, 2023. She was unresponsive. Her brain had no blood flow, no signs of life. Doctors did what they could. They fought. But deep down, everyone in that hospital room knew she was already gone. Everyone except her mother, Jamie, and strangely, perhaps her husband too. When Jamie arrived, she didn't see a grieving partner. She saw a man hunched over, rocking silently, detached, unemotional. Donovan said little, offering no explanation for what had happened. Instead, he left the medical decisions to Jamie, April's mother. She thought it was odd, cold. Why wasn't he asking questions? Why wasn't he desperate to know what went wrong? She would ask herself that again and again. 3 days later, on July 31st, April Holt was pronounced dead. Just like that, her story had ended. But for Jamie, something was just beginning. She didn't believe for a second that her daughter had chosen to leave this world, and she would stop at nothing to prove it. At first, the police ruled the death accidental or even self-inflicted. The scene, they said, showed no signs of foul play. April had a plastic bag taped around her head, but the implication was clear. She'd done it to herself. But Jamie knew better. April had just turned 29. She had plans. She was starting over. She had spoken with her mom just hours before, planning a movie date, talking about church, and about leaving Donovan. For good. Jamie's voice cracked as she remembered. She was finally ready to walk away. She had hope. That is not someone who's giving up. Weeks later, when the autopsy report came out, Jamie's suspicions only deepened. The report stated asphyxiation, death by suffocation. But police still declined to open a homicide investigation. They saw no evidence of intent, no clear perpetrator, no fight, no bruises, no crime, except there were bruises. April had marks on her neck, her thighs, and a gash on her inner leg. And most alarming of all, there were fingerprints on the plastic bag. Not April's. They belonged to Donovan Holt. Despite all this, the case was closed. No arrest, no press coverage, no justice. But Jamie refused to stay quiet. She turned her grief into fuel, her sorrow into strategy. She contacted media outlets, posted on social media, and filed a formal complaint with the Nashville Community Review Board.
We were going to go see the Barbie movie. She said, Donovan has to work. I can't go to the movie, but I'll meet you at church in Blast. This is the Blast classroom tomorrow. The phone rang and it was Donovan. And he said, he was upset, kind of like in a panic upset. He's like, we found April. She wasn't breathing. And so she's in the ambulance on the way to the hospital.
At the hospital, Donovan continued to act strangely compared to how you would expect a husband to act. Donovan left all the decisions for his mother-in-law to make. Made it seem strange. He kept panting and quite unstable with his hands above his head, moving from one point to another within the hospital.
She woke up, drank her coffee, journaled as usual, enjoying her peaceful morning, hugged and kissed her 7-year-old son, Denzel, and her husband then went into the bathroom and began to argue and fight. My 7-year-old grandson put his ear to the door and heard his parents fighting, and he looked underneath to see both of their feet. He then listened some more, but he couldn't understand what they were saying, and so he then ran to his room. His dad shortly after came into his room and he got him dressed and he fed him. And he then had him go check on his mom. He asked him to go check on his mom. 911 was then called. We got to the hospital and she had no brain function and no blood flow to her brain. We did not find out about the bag, which was not disclosed to us, for over 6 hours. In that time, her husband had went back to the apartment 2 times. Not knowing I don't know what he was doing there. On July 31st of 2023, my daughter was pronounced dead. And I want justice.
She made videos, sent letters, knocked on doors, anything to make someone listen. And slowly, the silence cracked. Months later, Metro Nashville police reopened the case. A 47-page report was filed. New evidence. New timelines, new clarity. Still, no one was charged, until Jamie found the one thing no detective had, a confession. And she didn't find it in a file or on a screen, but in a conversation she recorded herself. A conversation that would finally force the truth into the light. With April's case officially closed, and the world moving on, Jamie made a decision. If no one would investigate April's death, she would. She began with what she had, her daughter's voice. April had been open online. Through old videos, texts, and journal entries, Jamie pieced together a heartbreaking timeline. 2 weeks before her death, April filed for divorce. It wasn't the first time, but this time, she told her mom she wouldn't go back. And just days before she died, Donovan had pawned his wedding ring. Was it a coincidence? Or a prelude? Jamie kept digging. She requested the entire case file. She reconstructed the timeline down to the hour. She spoke to neighbors. Read every line of the autopsy. She even enrolled the children, Serenity and Denzel, in grief counseling, balancing motherhood and detective work at once. Then came the moment that would change everything. Again.
And the proceeds that come from this book will also be publishing a children's book called Grieve With Me. And that will be the next one that will be in the series. And then Grieving Through Grace, the next chapter, is the one that will follow this book.
In the wake of the new reality, Donovan decided to relocate to Texas and intended to take his son, Denzer, along. It was a lot for Jamiel to take in, and she had to persuade Denzer and also manage his psychological expectations to understand the current situation and the custody battle considering his age.
Want to support us and appreciate our craft? Click like, comment, and hit the subscribe button now.
Serenity didn't come with on that trip to go drop him off with his dad. She said she just couldn't do it. He was crying too. He didn't want to go. He was crying and saying he said, "Grammy, I'll do anything I can to try to stay with you." I don't influence him in any way with his emotion. He's often told that I do, and I'm on that other side, but I would never do that. I want him to have an opinion of his own, and I want him to be happy, no matter where that is, I just want him to be happy and have a fulfilling childhood. And I want him to be with his...
In September 2024, Jamie confronted Donovan herself. She had uncovered the autopsy and forensic details, his fingerprints on the bag, the bruises, the contradictions, and she laid them out like evidence in a courtroom. And then, she hit him with a choice. You can tell me the truth, or I go to the cold case team next week and have this reopened. There was a pause. Then, Donovan confessed. He admitted he had strangled April during an argument. He dragged her to the shower, taped a bag over her head, and walked away. He then made lunch for their son and instructed him to check on his mother. Jamie recorded the entire conversation. It was a moment of clarity and devastation. Jamie handed the recording to police. With no choice left, authorities re-reviewed April's autopsy and finally reclassified the death as a homicide. In September 2024, the news broke. Donovan Holt was arrested in San Antonio, Texas. The charges: reckless homicide, evidence tampering, false reporting. But for Jamie, it still wasn't enough. Reckless? He taped a bag to her head. That's not reckless. That's murder. She began another campaign, this time to increase the charges, to add child endangerment, to hold him fully accountable, to make sure April's death meant something in the eyes of the law.
I also want to update you that there has been an arrest the detective called me and did tell me that Donovan Holt has been arrested in the state of Texas for the homicide of April Holt. He is being transported back to Tennessee. And so that is the update for now. We do have him in handcuffs and he is being transported back. So now we're just waiting for the next steps.
Want to support us and appreciate our craft? Click like, comment, and hit the subscribe button now.
And in the middle of it all, she still had children to raise. Children who woke up crying, who asked where mommy went. Children who would never be the same. Jamie wrote a book. She began speaking out on domestic violence, on grieving, and on grace. She called her work Grieving Through Grace because she knew her daughter wouldn't want vengeance. She'd want healing for her children, for the truth, and even, somehow, for herself. But as Jamie fought for charges to be raised, another storm was brewing. A legal battle over the children, and a silence ordered by the court that threatened to muzzle April's truth once again. When the truth finally came to light, it should have been over. But in the April Holt case, justice moved in inches, not strides. And the ones left behind found themselves fighting yet another war. This time in the shadows. After Donovan Holt's arrest in September 2024, the headlines came and went. The public moved on. But for Jamie Dickerson, life remained frozen in the moment her daughter took her last breath. She'd won the first fight. April's death was now officially a homicide. But the real battle, the one for full justice, was just beginning. Donovan was charged not with first-degree murder, but with reckless homicide. To Jamie, this was more than an insult. It was a denial. He planned to hurt her. He executed it, then tried to hide it. How is that not intentional? Worse, Donovan was released on bond, a mere $75,000, less than what April made in a year running her lash business. And Jamie was placed under a gag order. Yes, the very mother who spent over a year uncovering the truth was now legally silenced. April's voice had been taken. Now her mother's was too. Behind closed doors, another legal storm was brewing. Custody. Donovan wanted Denzel, their 7-year-old son, to move to Texas with him. Jamie, who had been caring for both Denzel and Serenity since April's death, was devastated. She remembered the day he left. Denzel was crying. He begged to stay. He said, "Grammy, I'll do anything to stay with you." But the law was moving slowly, and at times
Closed April's
painfully
case.
blind.
DA and everybody
Jamie
agreed to
wasn't
close
just
it. I
mourning
got
her
up,
daughter
marched out of that room, and I said,
She
I'm
was
not done. I'm
defending
going to
her
keep
grandchildren's
investigating.
future, their stability, their safety. And every night, she still heard Denzel cry out for his mom in his sleep. What do you tell a child whose father took their mother away? As Donovan awaited his hearing, Jamie took her next step. She demanded a new district attorney, her third in less than 2 years, hoping someone would finally elevate the charges. She pushed for first-degree murder, child endangerment, premeditation. She refused to allow the narrative to be sanitized. He fed their son lunch while her body was cooling in the shower, she told reporters. That is not the act of a man in shock. That is the act of a man who planned to get away with it. But as the legal case dragged forward, a different kind of justice began to rise, one Jamie never expected. The court of public opinion. Word of Jamie's fight spread. People began sharing April's story. Celebrities retweeted it. Local reporters took notice. Advocates spoke out. In silence, Jamie had grown louder than ever before. And as October 23rd approached, the date of Donovan's arraignment, one final truth remained. April Holt had been silenced. But her story was only just beginning. Some stories don't end with justice. They end with legacy. And sometimes, the loudest voices are the ones that echo long after they've gone. The courtroom in Nashville was quiet. Outside, a small crowd gathered, supporters holding signs with April Holt's name. Inside, Donovan Holt sat in handcuffs, head bowed, facing arraignment for the death of the woman who once called him her best friend. The charges were still modest, reckless homicide, not murder. But for those who knew April, those who followed Jamie's battle, it wasn't just about the wording on a legal document. It was about truth. It was about showing the world who April really was. She wasn't a broken woman. She wasn't a silent victim. She was a mother, a fighter, a woman rebuilding her life until someone took it from her. And now, the woman who gave her life was giving her a voice. Jamie continued her campaign. She released the children's grief support book Grieve With Me. She wrote the second part of her story, Grieving Through Grace, the next chapter. She founded outreach programs for women stuck in silent abuse cycles. And slowly, the story of April Holt reached further than her TikTok ever had. Serenity and Denzel remained in Jamie's care, their healing ongoing. Some nights were hard. Some days they asked why. And Jamie gave them the truth, gently, but honestly, because healing doesn't come from lies, it comes from love and truth. Today, April Holt is remembered not as a victim, but as a reminder that abuse isn't always visible. Positivity can be a mask, and silence can be deadly. She inspired 200,000 people with her words, but she saved countless more with her story. A story that wouldn't exist if her mother hadn't refused to bury the truth. This was the story of April Holt, a woman who lived for love, died seeking peace, and is remembered because one voice refused to be silenced. Silent witness. We give voice to the stories they tried to erase.